Hi, this is Stephen Meade, lifelong entrepreneur, business owner, and global speaker. Over the years, I've read hundreds of books and spent thousands of hours developing what I call the BullsEye Belief System. And I've used that system to develop my own companies, as well as help others learn to be specific, targeted, and focused to get exactly what they want in life. Again, I'm Stephen Meade, and this is the BullsEye Guy podcast. So again, Stephen Meade here, and we're going to jump right in and get started. What I'm going to talk about today is this thing I've created through the years, again, called a BullsEye Belief System. And just for reference, it was built over many years, and I joke, when I was 22, I read 357 books in 6.5 years. And people say, that's too many, that's a lot. It's really not. It's a book a week for over 6 years. And that was kind of the goal, is how do you read a book, dissect it down into actionable items. I'm a big proponent of finding things that are actionable that you can actually do. And then we would teach that to our sales force, and the idea and goal was to build on a skill set every week. And it's almost like athletics. If you can build on something and practice it and do it over and over again, you can build a skill set over time. And Tony Robbins, there's a lot of other people that are big on this. And what I'm going to do is go through the 10 steps. And we won't go in depth, but as the podcast unfurls over time, we may come back and reference this and be able to help you guys out. And number one is what I call design your destiny. It's almost a Stephen Covey principle of begin with the end in mind, but I do it a little different as an entrepreneur. And a lot of this is especially designed for entrepreneurs, but it can be used really for anything. And the first step of design your destiny is, have you ever thought about being financially independent? And when I ask that, I stop and people go, oh, of course I have. And I go, well, what does that mean? What does financially independent mean to you? And people go, being rich. Well, for some people, $3 is rich. For some people, $3,000. So that's not very definitive. And again, when we start talking about this system of a bullseye, it's how do we get a target? And so financial independence, technically, officially in the world of finance, is defined as having enough money saved to live off of the interest to maintain the standard of living you desire. So follow me for a minute. Financial independence, having enough money saved that it's parked away. The interest gives you the amount of money you want to maintain your standard of living. So what we actually have to do is we sort of reverse engineer it, and I say, how much money would you like to have per year? What's that dollar amount? And I always say, I don't care what the answer is. It could be 100,000. It could be 250. It could be 500. It could be $1 million. It could be 10 million. But the goal, first and foremost, is let's develop a number that allows you to maintain a standard of living that you desire. What kind of house do you want? What kind of cars do you want? What kind of travel do you want? Let's build in a lifestyle without limitation and come up with that number. And that becomes your specific number. That's your financial independence goal. And that's what's going to give you a little bit of a framework to measure against as you move forward in your entrepreneurial journey especially. But the second part of design your destiny is what I call a shift. And it's really funny. Whenever I ask people about how much money do you want, they go, well, I don't need that much. I don't want to be greedy. Hey, money makes you more of what you already are. If you make a lot of money and you're an ass, unfortunately, you're going to be a big ass. But if you're generous, if you're nice, if you're kind, you become more generous. So what we want to do is what's called a shift. And ask the question, if you have enough money to maintain your own standard of living, if you had more, what would you do for other people? What would you do if you've got a mother and a father, a brother, a sister, nieces, nephews? Would you buy them a house? Would you give them a car? If you did, try and be specific. If you were going to buy your parents a house, would you pay it off and not tell them? Would you just let the mortgage stop showing up? Would you pay out? Really think this through. But what we're doing is we're trying to shift you making more money for the value and service of others. And that'll actually tie the emotion of making money to what you would do with it for other people in terms of trying to be a good and better person. All right. And again, we'll go more in depth on this over time, but that's really the first goal of this design your destiny, begin with the end in mind, is let's pick a specific financial goal by dollar amount, start visualizing what you would do with it and what you would do if you had more, and try and be more and more and more specific in what you would do for other people and how. And that's really step one, is this design your destiny. Step two moves us into something. Again, I'm in Los Angeles a lot of my time, and people joke about LA saying, oh, I don't like LA. It's full of plastic and fake people. And I have some pictures up where I was once in the wax museum, and I sent it around to all my friends and said, LA is full of plastic people. And it was me with pictures of fake plastic people. I thought it was funny. But it's a term called WIFU, right? Everybody's like, oh, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? We're going to shift your frame of reference. My frame for step two is called WIFU. WIFU. And WIFU is W-I-F-U. What's in it for you before I figure out what's in it for me? How can I figure out what's important to you? How to add value to you? What goals are you trying to accomplish? If I meet you or meet somebody and I can frame the reference of what's important to that other person, then I can figure out how to frame or manipulate or position what I'm doing to help that other person accomplish their goal. All right, and I'll give you a couple quick, easy examples of that. I'm going to give you one technique and tip. For instance, we do a lot of networking events, and any of you that are entrepreneurs especially, you'll do a lot of networking. And usually you end up at these networking events, and if you send a follow-up email, you say, hey, I'm Stephen Meade, and I met you at this event, and it's I. I want you, yes, I said that. We're going to do emails differently. If you send an email out, start it with the word you. You and I met at the event. You spoke about these things you were interested in. You happen to mention the following. When you start an email out with you, it fires the synapses off completely differently, where that person's now paying attention because you've just made it about the other person. And it's easy. We could go, I met you and I said this and I talked to you, but make it about the other person. And I'll give you a quick example. I can't use names on this, but we being some guys, we started a company years ago. We were trying to do something in the entertainment space. And the president of ABC had just been released. We'll call it fired, released, whatever we want. And any of you that are in the industry, you'll eventually figure out who it is. Great guy. But I wanted a meeting with him. And so I was working with a friend of mine who's won a bunch of Emmys and created these television shows. And I said, hey, get us a meeting with Mr. X. Again, I won't mention his name. Some of you guys go figure it out. And my friend wrote this glowing, glorious, beautiful email that said, my name's such and such, and I've won 4 Emmys, and I created this TV show. And it was 4 paragraphs of blubber on all the stuff he did, trying to impress the president of ABC. And I looked at that email and I said, absolutely not. This will never work. And I went and did just a little bit of research, and I typed in the following. This, again, one of my little techniques and tips before I meet with somebody important. And I've been fortunate I get to meet with amazing people. The Google is, what's important to the following person? Whoever you're trying to meet, fascinating what you find out. What's important to X? And what'll come up are press releases and interviews, and you get to learn what's important to that person. And this particular individual had just given an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, talking about how he was kind of embarrassed what happened and really wanted to leave a legacy and find something to do for his daughters and wanted to make a difference. And so I rewrote the email, and basically it was 4 sentences. I'm paraphrasing, but it's almost along the lines of, Dear Mr. So-and-so, you and I have never met. However, you were recently featured in The Hollywood Reporter. In there, you mentioned how you'd like to leave a legacy for your daughters. We have something that might be able to help you accomplish your goal. Love to meet for coffee. 4 sentences. 17 minutes later, we received a response from the president of ABC. Again, very quick. Love to. How about coffee bean Pacific Palisades Thursday? 4 sentences. Made it all about him. Now, did he come to work with us? No, we've become friends over the years, but that email was about what's important to that person. My goal was I wanted him to work with us, but I wasn't going to pitch him in there. So learn to just rephrase something, do some research, find out what's important to the other person. If it's somebody in a corporation, what's important to them with their bonuses or their goal, or go research corporate goals when you're meeting with somebody and you're trying to sell something, has nothing to do with what you want and everything to do with what they want. So WIFU with them. What's in it for you? What's in it for me? Step 3, moving along. Basically, this is what I used to call the tornado technique. Now we're going to call the BullsEye Belief System. But any of you that have actually seen a tornado, I love the visuals of it, but not everybody has. What's at the top of a tornado? That's where the car, the refrigerator, everybody's flying around. And I used to ask people when I give this speech, I say, I'm going to ask you the following, and it's a trick question. And it's got two parts. So I can ask you one question and you will get it wrong twice in one sentence. And that question is, what's the most powerful part of a tornado? And there's pause and silence. And somebody will always go, the eye, the center. Well, number one, there is no eye in a tornado. That's in a hurricane. So you're wrong. And point two is the center, the eye of the hurricane, is the calmest point of the entire thing. So you're wrong twice. The tip of the tornado is where the value and the purpose is. If the tornado never touches ground, there is no destruction. So what we looked at is how do we develop this bullseye system of starting externally and diving into a target, or a tornado where you start at the top and funnel down to become powerful. And this is how it works. Any of you can visualize a bullseye or a tornado, whichever you like. Number one, there's an emotional value of what you do. People make decisions emotionally and defend them logically. Anytime I ask somebody, what do you do? They tell me all of this stuff, and I look at them, I'm like, I don't care what you do. I care what you need. You're going to spend all of this time talking to me about what you do and explaining it and talking to me about what a cool company is. At the end of the day, you leave and somebody goes, oh, that's pretty cool. Does you nothing. What you do is irrelevant. What you need is important. So here's an example of how this works. Again, over time, we'll give more and more examples, but the emotional value of what you do is what you want to focus on. There's something cool and relevant about what every one of you do. So you say, oh, what do? I help companies do X. I help my clients achieve Y. And the people will be like, oh, that's cool. That's all you want. You want them to say cool, emotional. Underneath there, what are the industries you focus on? Either ones you want to break into, ones you're trying to get into, or ones you participate in. Within that industry, what are specific companies, 3, 4, 5 companies by name that you're trying to get to? Next level down, next ring down, what's the title within there? And then the bottom one is, what are the 5 people by name you want to meet right now? And I'll give you just a quick example of how it works. If you're trying to raise money, we get this a lot. People come to me. We just did a great event in Beverly Hills last night at the Four Seasons. A guy comes up, oh, we're raising money. We need venture capital. I said, who? Well, anybody interested in e-commerce? And I said, who? It's not my job to figure out which companies. And so I asked the guy, I said, what's your space? Like, what industry are you in? I'm showing you technique 5 we're going to get to. But basically, you got to figure out who are the top companies that you want to get to, who's the partner within there, and who's the name? What's the title? You know, people come to me and say, oh, I want to do business with Disney. And I say, oh, there's 87,000 employees. You know, I'll give you the techniques and the tools. It's your job to go figure out who you need. It's not mine to figure out for you. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to teach you how to be infinitely more effective. That's what step 3 is, this tornado technique, and it can be used for finding employees, board members, raising money, sales, anything you want. That's step 3. Step 4 gets a little tricky and fun. Step 4 basically says deflect, defer, and disclose. I meet people all the time at events. Oh, what do you do? Any of you guys that have done networking? What's your name? They walk up to you. Oh, my name is X. Oh, what is X? What do you do? And we jump right into the diatribe of whatever we do, and we throw everything up. And LA's, again, I love LA, but I have a love-hate. LA's the worst for what I call slashers. I'm a writer / producer / director / musician, and they're like throwing 9 things up, hoping you pick one that's of interest. You're never going to do that again. When somebody asks you what you do, you're going to practice the following. It takes a little bit of work, but it's relatively easy. Somebody says what you do. You can't look at them and go, well, what do you do? Your mind flares up. That's combat. They're going to go, well, what a jerk. I asked you first. The mind works like a ping pong match, like a tennis game. They served you a question. You have to answer the question and serve it back to them. But you don't have to give them a specific when you answer it. And I do this all the time. People go, oh, well, Stephen, Big Bamboo, that's our primary company. Well, what is Big Bamboo? Oh, we're just an incubator. We kind of create stuff. But anyway, hey, tell me more about you. I answered the question without answering the question. I deflected Then I deferred the question back to that person, and I'm now in control of that conversation. The goal is to have control of the conversation. And when you're in networking events and you're in sales, people love to talk about themselves. Let them talk. So deflect and defer says, I'm going to send those questions back. But now I have to have a technique. Now I have to have a process, because if you don't, people will talk, and boy, can they talk. At these events, networking, people will talk, and they're going to ramble on, and they're going to try and convince you how great their company is, and they're going to sell you on their market. When I talk to people, again, I don't care what you do. I care what you need. Step 2, what's in it for you? I can't figure out how to help you if you don't tell me what you need. And what you need is not what you do. It's the kind of person you need. What's the company? What's the title? Who are the 5 people you're trying to meet? So step 5, we actually call the reverse tornado, or the reverse bullseye. And what I mean by that is in your mind. Again, guys, this is not about being robotic. This is about having a structure and a technique and a system in your mind that makes things much more effective when you're talking to people. So the reverse, if I'm meeting somebody and they may say, oh, we do this and this and this, I go, all right, well, that's cool. Hey, what's the value that you bring to your client? What do your customers love about what you do? What's the coolest thing about the service you provide? I'm trying to figure out that emotional value so I can determine what they do, if I like them, if I think it's cool, and if I want to help them. And then within there, again, just reversing through the tornado, I'll go, all right, what are your industries? Like, what are the top 3 industries you're trying to get into? And it's never what industry. You have to be specific. It's always what's the 1 or 2 or 2 or 3, never more than 3. The mind can't handle it. You know, hey, what's the top industry you're in? Or what are the 2 or 3 best industries? Oh, that's cool. Who are you going after? Give me a wish list. Like, who are the top 3 companies? Who are the 3 to 5 companies? I want to be in music. I want to be in entertainment. I want to meet DJs. Right? We're sitting here at the studios with Swedish Eagle and the great team. There's a big range. So if somebody says, I like EDM music, right? Okay. Who do you want to meet? Like, what's the title? What's the position? Who are the 5 people you want to meet? And I will reverse the conversation through to lead them to the point of getting the names. And a lot of times people don't know the names. They're like, well, I've never thought of it, which baffles me. How can you be an entrepreneur and not know the best companies you want to do business with? How can you not know the title? How can you not know the names of the people you want to meet? It's irresponsible as an entrepreneur, and we're going to stop you from being irresponsible. So reversing the tornado technique says, I'm going to go through and ask you the questions in a series and sequence that's going to lead me to the conclusion I want to get to, which is, what are the names? What's in it for you? I need to figure out what's in it for you. Step 7, or step 6, actually, as we jump along here, is called build referral currency. This is what I call psychological jujitsu. Right? I used to call it psychological manipulation. The word manipulation is a little pejorative, so we're going to go with jujitsu, which is where you use the person's own weight against them. So when I'm talking to somebody, or when you're speaking with them and you're asking them these questions, names are hopefully going to start popping in your mind of how you can help that person. Right? Step 2, what's in it for you? As names pop in your mind, I don't want you to do the following, which is what most people do. Oh, they're going through machination, talk. Oh, do you know so-and-so? Oh, have you heard of this? Or, oh, do you know that company? People will jump in the minute the first name comes to mind. Don't do that. What you want to do is learn to make mental pegs. You want to make 2, 3, 4 mental notes. And my mental pegs get to about 5. And then I tell the person, hey, I apologize. I'm making some mental notes. Let me write this down real quick. I'm writing down 2, 3, 4, 5 names of people who I think can help you in our conversation. So this referral currency, this psychological jujitsu I'm about to play on you, you don't even know is coming. But it's not manipulative. It's I want to help you, but I can't help you unless you get me the names. So as I'm sequencing through, as I get to these names, this is the way we do referral currency and psychological jujitsu. You'll say, oh, this is great. Once you're done, you've asked the questions, you think you sort of have the premise, you go, oh, this is great. So here's the deal. Here's this person I just came up with. Here's this name, this title. Are those the kinds of people you would like to meet? And if you're doing a good job, you'll get really good at this. You'll learn how to make these connections. The person will go, oh my God, yeah, that's great. That's perfect. This is your next line. Great. When we're done, let's figure out how to put you in touch with them. But now, let me tell you what I do. Remember step 4, deflect, defer, and disclose. I don't disclose what I do until A, I know who the person is I'm talking to, what they do, what they need, and if I can offer to help them, I'm going to do so, because when I explain to them what I do, I'm going to frame it in the reference of the person I'm speaking to. I can change my terminology. I can talk about the industries and companies and people I want. If I'm talking to a potential investor, I can reframe what I do as a business based on that person. If it's somebody in advertising or sales, we can change it because in step 3, we've done this bullseye to know what our values are and who we're trying to get to. But deflect, defer, and disclose says I'm going to defer questions back. I'm going to ask you in a reverse. I'm going to build referral currency. Then I'm going to tell you who it is I can help you with. And then I'll go, now let me tell you what I do. And I'm going to be very specific. So that's going to lead us to the next step, which is basically learning how to call referrals. If you do this right, if you're in sales, I've never done cold calling in my life. When I talk about the sales training I did, we did a ton of it. We never did cold calling, which in financial services was really quite a trick. And we would go in and learn how to build referrals. And if you get a referral, then you're going to call them. And I'm actually my own worst enemy at this now. I'm great at email. Email, you can sit around and peck and type and all day long. I used to be on the phone 40, 50 hours a week. I would get my bill and now I was on thousands of hours. I don't hardly call anybody anymore. I send emails. But what I realize is most people don't call either. So I've emailed guys for 5 and 6 months. They never answer. Even though they know me, I'll pick up the phone and call them. They're like, oh, hey, so glad. Thanks for calling. Nobody calls anymore. So if you get a referral, there's a right way and a wrong way, and we're going to walk through it really quickly. If I get a referral from somebody, what you do not do is say, hi, this is Steve Meade. I just got your name. Can I blah, blah. Have any of you ever received a phone call where somebody just jumps right in, right? The phone call's coming in. They're not in your caller ID. You're looking at your phone going, should I answer? Do I not? Let me take it. Oh, and then that person just jumps into a diatribe. Do not do that. Don't be that person. How do you call a referral? Very simple. Hi, my name is X, right? Hi, my name's Steve Meade. I got your name and number from Y. Whomever it was that gave you the referral. Again, I'll use Eagle and the team here. If Swedish gave me the referral of somebody I wanted to meet in music, it's his credibility that's going to get that conversation, not mine. So step 1, hi, my name is X. 2, I got your name and number from Swedish Eagle. Step 3, very quickly, you cannot pause at any one of these steps. If I said, hi, my name is Steve and I got your name from Swedish Eagle, that person immediately is going, okay, who, what, why, why'd he give my name out? Step 3 within there is, my name is this, I got your name from, did I catch you at a good time? What you're doing is giving that person the courtesy to say yes or no, and they're evaluating the time they have to take a conversation, not on you, but on the person who gave you that referral. And sometimes they'll say, yeah, I've got a minute. And if they do, great, here's specifically why I'm calling. And if you've done your research in advance, if you've looked at what's important to them and why you're calling and what value in step 2, you can go right into your tornado technique of saying, here's why I'm calling, here's what you do, here's what we think you're interested in, here's how we might be able to help you, would love to talk. Whatever line of questioning and reasoning you're going down. So you cannot pause at any one of those steps. If you do, you're dead. And I don't mean that bad. Mentally, the person has already started judging you the minute they pick that phone up and don't know who you are. All right, so, hi, my name is Steven. I got your name and number from Swedish Eagle. Did I catch you at a good time? If they say yes, you're into it. If they say no, great, is there a better time to get in touch with you? And you're giving somebody the courtesy to say yes or no that most people don't do on a phone call. Number 8, make an introduction. This one I love because I do, again, a lot of networking, and I like adding value. If I meet somebody at an event, I can ask them these questions. I know what they're looking for. right? And I know the difference for me personally, there's a difference between a recommendation and a referral. And I preface that. I don't mind making introductions all day long, but I save my credibility. If I just met somebody, I'll say, hey, I just met this person at an event. He seems cool. I want to refer him over to you. And you can both make your own decision. But the introduction is, here's person X. Here's what they do and why I think it's important to you. Here's person Y and why it's important. Here's why you two should talk. What you want to do is you want to set that premise of an introduction based on the value that you think both parties can see in each other, right? What you don't want to do is go, oh, hey, here's Steven and you should meet John and you guys should talk. No, there's a million things every one of us can talk about. Be a professional. Figure out how to make that introduction. Pick a topic to set that conversation point down the right line, and don't be afraid to do it, but you don't have to recommend that person. Don't extend your credibility. A recommendation is for somebody I know and work with and don't mind giving a recommendation. A referral, I do referrals all day long, but I preface it. Hey, I just met this person. All right, so step 9, take meetings early and often. I do this all the time. We do this a lot in our companies when we're starting them. And I love the entertainment people. We do a lot of when I say work with entertainment, I don't do consulting, but I like helping people. And a lot of times you'll talk to entertainers or musicians. Oh, well, I need to get more work before I get an agent. I'm like, well, what agent do you want? Well, I want CAA, one of the biggest, or William Morris, Jimmy Wyatt. Well, CAA, these guys are specialized. You can't just say, I want to be represented by CAA without knowing who the agent is within there that would best like what you're doing. So again, we're going to target who you want. But if you have the opportunity using these techniques to get a meeting with, I'll make somebody up, not making them up, Stephen Huvane. You guys can all go look up Huvane. Great guy, bunch of A-list people. I don't do entertainment, so I'm not overselling anybody. But if I was in entertainment trying to get a meeting, if I got a meeting with one of the top agents, one of the top directors, one of the top funders, I take that meeting. I take that meeting early and often, but I take the meeting by going in being humble. If I were, again, I'll use acting. If I'm an actor, I'm not going to go in and oversell myself saying, look at all these great things to do. Please, will you? No, I'm going to go in saying, thank you so much for taking the time. I really want to be a professional in this industry. Hey, what 2 or 3 things do you think I should work on based on this stage of my career? What do I need to improve on to maybe one day be represented by somebody like you? Right? And we do a lot with corporations. I go into companies saying, why won't this work? I don't mind taking meetings with the biggest companies in the world because I don't go in overselling what I'm doing. I go in saying, why won't this work? What am I missing? What would it do? What steps would we need to maybe one day get you as a client? So I have no problem taking meetings, but I don't go in overselling, overhyping, overpromoting, and overpromising. And that person, if you go in and solicit negative information, you solicit negative feedback in a positive way, you get a lot more information than you would normally get if you just went in and did it on your own. Take meetings early and often. Last one, section 10, number 10, ask questions. Questions are the key to the universe. And you can see how these steps all kind of build on each other. The take meetings is I'm going in asking good questions. Why won't this work? What am I missing? How do I make things better? What would it take to one day do business with you? And all of these things enable you to build on the system. So again, 357 books at that time. Now it's 400 or 500. I've read hundreds of books. Not trying to impress you, just impress upon you. What I've just given you in these 10 steps is thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, all distilled down into steps and techniques and tools that I think you could easily implement. Again, not an entertainer, not an inspirer. I'm an educator. I'm going to educate you. Whether you implement these tools or not is up to you. The best I can do is lay them out. And the asking great questions is a good one. Just always remember, go in, take meetings early, but premise, what's in it for you? What's in it for me? And we'll end with number 1. So as an entrepreneur, if you go through this, begin with the end in mind, step 1, and you say, here's all the things I want in my life. Here's the kind of people I want to hang around with. Here's the difference I want to make. Here's I want a company, a product, a service. If you get 7, 8, 9, 10 things, as an entrepreneur, I get asked all the time, hey, how do you pick which ideas you want to do? Easy. I look at an idea and I measure it out and say, if this idea is successful, what does it give me of the 6, 8, 10 things I want? Does it give me a shot to get my personal net worth, my financial independence, the kind of people I want to hang around with, the difference I want to make in other people's lives? If it doesn't give me at least 7 or 8 of the things that I want my life to be like, it's not worth doing. Everything in life is worth doing, but if you're not emotionally tied to the outcome, you're not going to do it. So, episode 2. This is Steve and Meade, the BullsEye Guy. This is the BullsEye Guy podcast. Hope you join us for the next one. Thank you so much.